So when that happens, we feel a sense of separation. We feel like we aren't really together. You might also be doing that with me. And I would be reacting to your doing that with me, reacting to me doing that with you.
Then we're not really relating, are we? We're just interreacting.
Yeah, it's interreacting. It's something that's not who you really are, interacting with something that's not who I really am. If you imagine that there's somebody who you really are that's independent of all that stuff that overlays and configures. If there's a true you and there's a true me, then an actual relationship between individuals is that true you and that true me. And the mental, emotional overlays act as obscurations. It's sort of, they stand between us. They obscure that connection between us. And so what we'd want to do is acknowledge the true nature of the other individual and be acknowledged. And then that's true relationship, right? And that, it feels like a dissolving of separation until there's a sense of unity that comes out of it. They talk about this kind of oneness that comes out of doing that. And it has to do with clearing this material out of the way so that we can complete our relationships with each other. But what happens is that we're all reacting to each other's reactions to the level of planetary suicide at some level, you know. It becomes so deep and so involved and so believed that, so projected, so lost, that the lack of enlightenment, that ignorance about that we can't easily connect with each other. So the path of enlightenment would be to set as a goal, a personal goal, to find the true self so you can be who you really are with another, and to find that actual other and connect and dissolve that separation. And it has to do with communicating with each other honestly, you know, of really understanding, of listening. It has to do with getting rid of your false ideas of yourself and getting over maybe emotional injuries like you were talking about earlier. I mean, there's a whole set of things we have to do to make that workable. And if you look at our whole country, I think maybe that's a symptom of us not having done that for a while.
Seems like there's a lot of fear that people are afraid to let their guard down to get to that.
Because they will get you.
To get to that point with someone else. I think a lot of people try to get to that place with God or with Christ or with angels or something more divine and more mysterious, and perhaps a hope that it will get them to that place that then they truly can connect with someone else. But I think with a lot of religious doctrine in our culture, that there's something associated that then you've got to sacrifice something for other people, for the community, to feel this within yourself. And I've always questioned that, is that if we're sacrificing, are we truly being ourselves?
And I have an experience around that. Like, you do these deep meditations and you have these enlightenment experiences, which is this direct experience of the actual nature of yourself, where all this material is cleared away, where you're not overlaying, where you're not conceptualizing, where there's just this immediate, vivid, actual self-enlightenment experience that's occurring in that moment. And then you say, when all this stuff is uncovered, what do you really like, right? And it turns out there's always a sense of humanity and compassion that's there, that's not a sacrifice to do things for others at all. There's a natural open-heartedness that I think exists, and that it gets hidden by pressures and nervousness and personal injury, incomplete relationships. It gets hidden over, and we get into those reactions to those insults that we've had emotionally with each other, things like that. And then it gets hidden, and you're busy trying to survive, and you don't think too much about being compassionate for other people. But that's what we want to do, is we want to have that, I think, open-hearted feeling to each other. It feels, nobody likes to suffer, and everybody suffers sort of in the same way.
Well, we're taught to be very independent. I was brought up to get an education, have your own career, make your own money, don't be dependent on anyone.
Yeah.
And I think in today's world, you've got to be self-sufficient.
I think it's almost like almost an ultimate purpose of life to connect with others, and that being independent and gaining like virtuous abilities such as taking care of yourself and earning money and getting your act together,
Being successful.
being successful is kind of like a part, like the reason you would do that is so that you can be with others better, rather than being like needy and being inept, or you know what I'm saying, that you can contribute to the sort of getting together with others, a kind of collective sense, that you become like there's these idealisms to be really with others in a constructive way that handles life and makes it better. It's like making life better so that you can be with others better. But that it sometimes, because we don't really understand that it's a part of our relationships, it becomes something that's personal and takes us away from others. It's almost like
Exactly.
It's like the solution blinds us to what our real goal is.
Or
which
even
is
in
to
the
connect.
quest for that, we lose people or we lose the connection.
That happens all the time. Like you really have a goal and you really want to be connected to, or you really want to accomplish something, and something will happen. You'll end up doing something off, kind of off center, and get kind of tangled up in that and kind of lose your way. What's it about?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And so I found it was about contact and about connection and feeling and fulfilling relationship, which is and there's a rich dynamic to fulfilling relationship. There's a lot there, and it goes all the way to that level of like God or the divine or enlightenment. In other words, what happens between us is first like social or getting understood, feeling comfortable with each other, opening up the path between us, so doing things together. It could be a sexual thing, but there's lots of dynamics, interpersonal. But if you're saying, well, what's really happening when I do that with another? What's really going on? Like you continue to inquire, contemplate. In the midst of fulfilling your goal, you're also open to the truth of what's going on between you and that other person. Like, what's going on here? I mean, we can ask that. Just be open to the truth of what's going on. And then when we find what's going on, is that really a truth? Is it really real? Is it what I want to be going on? What can I do to get to the bottom of it? What can I do to fulfill relationship, the potential, or what relationship could be? And as you inquire into that, it gets down to that mystery of what another is, and what I am, and what we're trying to do together, and what awareness is, and becoming aware of that awareness, becoming aware of another. How do I know you are aware? How do I know you even exist? Are you just an imagination of mine? What does it mean, to be with another, and to be satisfied in yourself that you have come up with some answers that make sense, that really makes sense in the broadest sense of being a human being. I think that's well worth putting a few hours in on, and really trying to understand and studying about and trying to get that going in your life. That's a path, right? That's an enlightenment path in itself, is that desire to connect with another and the fulfillment of that. And when I look in another person's eyes, I want to remember, I want to be aware that there is an experience that's kind of hidden from me that's going on in them, of that looking back at me, right?